You've probably seen the viral claims. Intermittent fasting boosts testosterone by 200%. Sounds impressive, right? But here's the truth. When you actually read the studies behind those headlines, the results tell a very different story. As a urologist, I've seen hundreds of men chasing quick hormone fixes, supplements, diets, and fasting fads, hoping to feel younger, stronger, and more energetic. But testosterone doesn't work that way. Today, we're going to separate science from internet hype and look at what peer-reviewed research really says about fasting and your hormones. Testosterone is often seen as the masculinity molecule, but it's far more than that. It's a vital hormone that influences muscle mass, metabolism, mood, libido, and even bone health. Unfortunately, research from the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism 2017 shows that average testosterone levels in men have been steadily declining for decades, about 1% per year since the 1980s. At the same time, intermittent fasting, or IS, has exploded in popularity. From the 16-8 method to the 5-2 approach, fasting is promoted as a simple way to burn fat and reset your body. But does skipping breakfast really turn you into a testosterone machine? Let's see what the science says. A controlled study published in Frontiers in Endocrinology 2020 examined the effects of intermittent fasting on hormone profiles in healthy men. The researchers found that while short-term fasting did not significantly raise total testosterone, it did improve insulin sensitivity and lower body fat, both critical for maintaining normal testosterone production. Similarly, a 2021 review in Cell Metabolism by Longo and Panda concluded that intermittent fasting supports metabolic health and can indirectly benefit testosterone by optimizing the body's hormonal balance, particularly through reduced insulin and improved leptin signaling. However, it's not all positive. Studies also show that prolonged caloric restriction or overly aggressive fasting can raise cortisol, the body's stress hormone, which in turn can suppress testosterone production. Endocrine Reviews 2019. So, while intermittent fasting isn't a direct testosterone booster, it can play a supporting role when combined with proper nutrition, resistance training, and sleep. In short, fasting might not make you super male, but it can help your hormones work smarter, not harder. What the research actually says, scientific breakdown plus key findings. When we look beyond the headlines and into controlled clinical data, the story of intermittent fasting, IF, and testosterone becomes much more nuanced and far more interesting. Let's start with one of the most referenced studies. In Frontiers in Endocrinology 2020, researchers followed men who practiced time-restricted eating for 8 weeks. Their findings? While total testosterone levels didn't rise significantly, participants experienced a notable reduction in body fat percentage and improved insulin sensitivity, both critical factors in maintaining healthy testosterone production. That's key because testosterone doesn't operate in isolation. It's deeply connected to your metabolic health. When your insulin sensitivity improves, your body becomes better at regulating glucose and reducing inflammation, creating a hormonal environment where testosterone can function properly. Another important study, published in the Journal of Translational Medicine 2016, examined young men who followed a 16-8 intermittent fasting pattern while weight training. After 8 weeks, these men maintained their testosterone levels despite consuming fewer calories and showed improved muscle definition and reduced fat mass. The author suggested that IF can support lean body composition without harming testosterone, as long as total nutrition remains adequate. However, when fasting becomes extreme, meaning long-term caloric restriction or extended fasting beyond 24 hours, the outcome changes. According to Endocrine Reviews 2019, severe energy restriction increases cortisol, the stress hormone. High cortisol directly interferes with luteinizing hormone, LH, the brain signal that tells your testes to produce testosterone. That's why excessive fasting can suppress testosterone and even affect sperm quality. A 2021 review in Cell Metabolism, Longo and Panda adds more clarity. Intermittent fasting can act as a metabolic reset, improving mitochondrial function, inflammation markers, and metabolic flexibility, all of which are upstream factors that support healthy hormone production indirectly. So the verdict? Intermittent fasting doesn't boost testosterone on its own, but it can optimize your hormonal environment by improving metabolism, lowering inflammation, and supporting better insulin control. Overfasting or chronic undereating can do the opposite, spiking cortisol, lowering testosterone, and draining your energy. In short, fasting is a tool, not a hormone hack. It can support your system, but only when it's paired with balanced nutrition, good sleep, and resistance training. How fasting affects hormones: leptin, insulin, and cortisol explained. When it comes to testosterone, fasting doesn't flick a simple on-off switch. It sets off a chain reaction involving several powerful hormones that control how your body produces and uses testosterone. Let's break down the key players. 1. Insulin, the gatekeeper of hormonal balance. When you eat frequently, especially high-carb or high-sugar meals, your insulin levels stay elevated. Chronically high insulin can suppress sex hormone-binding globulin and reduce the availability of free testosterone. But when you fast, insulin levels naturally drop, improving insulin sensitivity, meaning your cells respond better when insulin is present. A 2019 study published in Metabolism, Clinical and Experimental found that men who improved insulin sensitivity through time-restricted feeding showed better hormonal profiles and less fat accumulation around the abdomen, which is crucial because belly fat converts testosterone into estrogen through the enzyme aromatase. So, when fasting reduces insulin and body fat, it helps restore that hormonal balance, not by creating testosterone, but by preventing it from being wasted. 2. Leptin, the brain's hormone messenger. Leptin, secreted by fat cells, tells your brain whether your body has enough stored energy. When leptin levels drop, as during fasting, the hypothalamus increases the release of gonadotropin-releasing hormone, GnRH, which then triggers luteinizing hormone, LH, from the pituitary gland. LH directly stimulates your testes to produce testosterone. However, this mechanism only works in moderation. Chronic fasting or extreme dieting can push leptin too low for too long, signaling energy deficiency to your brain. When that happens, your body prioritizes survival, not reproduction, and testosterone levels can drop. This balance was highlighted in the American Journal of Physiology, Endocrinology, and Metabolism, 2020, where researchers observed that short fasting cycles improved leptin sensitivity, but long-term restrictions suppressed reproductive hormones. 3. Cortisol, the testosterone antagonist. Cortisol, your body's main stress hormone, rises naturally during fasting to help maintain blood sugar. But if fasting is prolonged or paired with poor sleep, cortisol can spike too high. A review in Endocrine Reviews, 2019, showed that chronically elevated cortisol directly inhibits testosterone synthesis in the Leydig cells, the exact place where testosterone is produced in the testes. So, the key is balance. Mild, controlled fasting enhances hormone sensitivity and metabolic efficiency. Prolonged stress or calorie deprivation does the opposite. It steals from your testosterone to fuel survival. Fasting can support testosterone health, but indirectly, through better insulin control, reduced fat storage, and optimized leptin signaling. If you push it too far, though, cortisol takes over and testosterone suffers. How to apply intermittent fasting without hurting testosterone. Now that we understand how fasting interacts with your hormones, let's talk about what actually works in the real world. Because while intermittent fasting can support better metabolic and hormonal health, doing it wrong can backfire hard. The first rule of fasting for men's health: don't starve yourself, structure yourself. Research shows that moderate fasting, when paired with balanced nutrition and resistance training, helps you maintain lean muscle and healthy testosterone levels. For instance, a study in the Journal of Translational Medicine, 2016, followed men practicing 16 to 8 time-restricted feeding, meaning they fasted for 16 hours and ate within an 8-hour window. After 8 weeks, participants preserved muscle mass, maintained testosterone levels, and reduced fat percentage. The key? Their calorie and protein intake remained adequate during eating hours. In other words, fasting timing matters, but nutrition matters more. If you're considering intermittent fasting, here's how to do it safely and sustainably. 1. Choose a gentle window. Start with something manageable, like 14-10, fast for 14 hours, eat for 10. Once your body adjusts, you can try 16-8, which most research supports for men's metabolic benefits. Avoid extreme fasts longer than 24 hours unless medically supervised. 2. Prioritize nutrient density. During your eating window, focus on testosterone-supportive foods, healthy fats, avocados, eggs, olive oil, lean proteins, fish, chicken, beef, and minerals like zinc and magnesium. A review in Nutrients 2020 confirmed that diets rich in these nutrients correlate with better serum testosterone levels and improved reproductive health. 3. Pair fasting with resistance training. Muscle tissue is hormonally active. It boosts insulin sensitivity and testosterone utilization. A study in the European Journal of Applied Physiology, 2019, found that men who lifted weights while practicing IF maintained higher free testosterone levels compared to those who didn't exercise. 4. Don't neglect recovery. Sleep is when testosterone peaks. If fasting interferes with your sleep, for instance by eating too close to bedtime or going to bed hungry, you're undoing all your hormonal progress. Aim for 7 to 8 hours of quality rest every night. 5. Know when to stop. If you notice fatigue, low libido, or mood swings, it's a sign your fasting may be too aggressive. Hormones are sensitive to energy balance. They thrive on consistency, not deprivation. Intermittent fasting can be a valuable tool for men's health, but only when used wisely. Balance your food intake, train smart, manage stress, and get enough rest. That's how you build a body where testosterone thrives naturally. When it comes to testosterone and intermittent fasting, the internet loves extremes. It skyrockets your T levels, or it destroys your hormones. But the truth, as always, lives in the middle. The evidence shows that intermittent fasting isn't a testosterone booster by itself, but it can support a healthier hormonal environment when done correctly. Studies from Frontiers in Endocrinology 2020, Cell Metabolism 2021, and the Journal of Translational Medicine 2016 all point to the same conclusion. Fasting helps reduce inflammation, improve insulin sensitivity, and lower body fat, 3 cornerstones of maintaining normal testosterone levels. However, when fasting becomes extreme, when you skip meals for days, cut calories too low, or combine it with poor sleep, testosterone can actually decline due to elevated cortisol and decreased energy availability. So, if you're considering fasting, treat it as a tool, not a magic fix. Here's the best approach as a urologist. Stay consistent with your eating window. Keep nutrition rich in protein, healthy fats, and micronutrients. Train regularly, but rest enough. And always listen to your body. Fatigue and mood changes are early warning signs that your hormonal balance might be shifting too far. Remember, testosterone health isn't about chasing hacks. It's about long-term balance, smart lifestyle choices, and medical awareness. You're watching Dr. Georgia Bennett's Urology Insights, where men's health meets real science. If you want evidence-based guidance on hormones, vitality, and sexual health, subscribe now. And let's build your best health, one fact at a time.